Today I've got a question from a member of my community. She's recently started to explore how to stop drinking alcohol, and she's worried how to talk to her husband, who she says is an amazing man, and he's always been incredibly supportive with everything else that she's tried to do in her life. But she's really worried about talking to him, and she doesn't know how to approach the topic. And it's a question that I hear quite often. How do we talk to our partners when we start to explore the world of sobriety and start to look at changing our behaviours? For some people, it's enough to keep them trapped. They worry that things might shift within their relationship to the extent that they just carry on with the unhelpful behaviour that potentially in the end might be what actually destroys the relationship. So it's an unavoidable situation. We need to talk to our partners. Now, the lady who asked this question also describes her husband as a normal drinker, and you might have heard me talk about the myth of normal drinkers before. So I want to start with that before getting on to some tips for how to approach our partner, how to communicate with our partners when we're worried about having that conversation, and how to address the issue of quitting drinking with them. So let's talk about normal drinkers. In my opinion, normal drinkers are a bit like unicorns. They either don't exist or there's very, very few of them about. I don't think I've ever seen one, maybe one or two. And the reason I say this is because I encounter many people who from the outside you might think were normal drinkers. And people who perhaps are heavy drinkers or regular drinkers can become fixated by this myth of normal drinkers and wanting to be just like them. Now remember, we don't know what's going on inside everybody. We're presented with the exterior that they show to the world, but we don't know what's happening within them. But more importantly, normal drinkers very often, and I've experienced this firsthand, will perhaps drink once a week or a couple of times a week. And the people who I've spoken to that I've perceived to be normal drinkers will look forward to that drink, and they'll use that drink as a coping mechanism. There's one person in particular I can think of who only drank on a Friday night. She had a bottle of wine every Friday, and she would look forward to it. If she had a bad day at work, she would think, well, everything's fine because tomorrow's Friday and I can drink. She would use it to cope, to deal with her emotions, even though she only drank once a week, and from the outside you might perceive her to be a normal drinker. When I asked her if she could live the rest of her life without alcohol, it was a straight no, an absolute hard no. No way. She loved that drink on a Friday night, looked forward to it, and said there was no way she could live a life without drinking. So from my perspective, she's on that spectrum of needing alcohol in her life to some extent. Sure, she might be quite low down the spectrum, and maybe someone who drinks every day or is a heavy drinker or binge drinks is further up the spectrum, but people who we perceive as normal drinkers are generally on that same spectrum. So I think it's important to let go of this myth that there's such a thing as a normal drinker. Try and rule it out of the equation, because otherwise you can spend your sober journey trying to become a normal drinker when actually such a thing doesn't really exist. Now let's get back to the question around how to talk to our partners. Now the huge thing here is communication. And I see it time and time again in the people that I work with, where there can be a bit of a gulf that's emerged over time, a bit of a distance where communication is perhaps not as good as it once was, or it's never been very good. And this alcohol-free life that we're moving into is the perfect opportunity to start improving communication with your partner. It's actually a gift that comes with an alcohol-free life. So use it as an opportunity to have those conversations that maybe make you feel a bit uncomfortable, because you're going to want your partner's support and you need to be vulnerable. This is the absolute key in how to approach this. You need to become vulnerable with your partner. Now, you'll probably feel a fear when you start thinking about that. The only antidote to fear is courage, and you need some courage to step forward and to be vulnerable, to reach out to them and actually ask for what you need, knowing that you might not get everything that you ask for, but you need to ask for what you want and what help you need. Maybe you need to ask them not to have certain drinks in the house. Maybe you need to ask them to keep you accountable, or maybe you just need to ask them to be there for you, to listen to you and give you a hug when you're having a bad day. Whatever it is, you need to become vulnerable and actually reach out to them and tell them that you've been having a hard time. You want to change your relationship with alcohol, and it's something that you're really excited and motivated to do because it's going to improve your relationship. Start to communicate, and if you feel yourself feeling fear around it, know that courage is the only thing that's going to get you through that. A brilliant book you can read is called Wired for Love by Stan Tatkin. There's an image of it on the screen right now, and that will also help you improve all aspects of your relationship, but particularly the way that you communicate with your partner. It really helped me, but I found that when I was drinking, I was emotionally shut down. I didn't even know what I was feeling. I was not connected to my emotions at all. And when I was able to quit alcohol, I actually started to feel my feelings and notice my emotions again. The more that I noticed, the more that I began opening up and sharing with my partner. The more we began to talk about my experience. And she was incredibly supportive. She helped me all the way, and I'm pretty sure she would have done whatever I needed and whatever I asked for. And in fact, everything I did ask for and need, she absolutely helped me with. But that wouldn't have happened if I'd kept quiet, if I hadn't been vulnerable, and if I hadn't spoken up. But know that your relationship will improve when you stop drinking. You're going to be far more present. You're going to notice what's going on. You're going to have more time for the important people in your life, and you're going to listen. You're going to pay attention far, far more than you probably have ever done before when your mind was occupied by thoughts of wine and what time can you start drinking and how much should I buy at the shop today. Those sort of thoughts are just overwhelming. There's no room, no bandwidth for thoughts about communicating and connecting fully with our partners. So know that this is a gift and it's part of the journey to growth. Just take that step forward, and it can feel scary, but have the conversation. Your partner's probably going to be one of the most supportive people on your journey, so you want to have them on side, but that's not going to happen unless you reach out and let them know what's going on inside you. We often think our partners are mind readers and expect them to work things out without even giving them any information. I've definitely done that in the past, but if we can let them in, give them the information, you're just going to find that a door opens and you're probably going to get so much more help than you ever anticipated. So I hope that helps. I'll be sharing more of the questions from my community over the coming weeks. And if you've got a question, post it in the comments below. Let me know what you'd like me to answer, what you'd like me to talk about. I read all the comments and I try and respond to as many as possible. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Just hit the little red box on the screen now and the bell icon, and you'll get notified every time there's a new video. There's new videos every Tuesday and every Thursday. So I'll see you again on the next video.